David lived alone near the edge of the forest. He liked quiet things. His small house was made of stone and wood, with a garden in the back and a narrow path leading to the forest. He did not talk much to others. He fixed old machines, read books, and walked in the woods every evening. Life was slow and peaceful. One night, as David sat on his porch, a bright light flashed across the sky. It moved fast and low, glowing blue and gold as it cut through the stars. Then, with a deep sound, it disappeared behind the hills. A few seconds later, the ground shook. Birds flew up from the trees. Something had crashed. David stood up. He grabbed his jacket and flashlight, then ran into the forest. The air smelled like smoke and metal. Leaves crackled under his boots as he followed the broken branches. After a few minutes, he saw a strange glow ahead. He stepped carefully. In a small clearing, a round silver object lay tilted in the grass. It was not large, maybe the size of a small car. Steam rose from cracks in the metal. The air felt warm around it. David took a deep breath and moved closer. Then he saw her. She lay beside the ship, half covered in glowing dust. Her skin was a pale violet, and her hair looked like soft silver threads. One side of her body was burned. Her arm and shoulder had dark marks, and her breathing was slow. Her clothes were thin and torn. David knelt beside her. "Hey," he said softly, not sure if she could hear him. "Can you move?" Her eyes opened slowly. They were deep gold, shining even in the dark. She stared at him without speaking. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. David looked at her burns and knew she needed help. "I'll take you home," he said. "You need care." She didn't fight as he gently lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he thought. He turned back toward his house, moving carefully through the trees. The night was quiet again, but he felt like he was being watched. At home, David placed her on the old couch. He found his first aid box and began cleaning the burns. She winced a little but didn't speak. Her skin felt warmer than normal. David wondered if her kind ran hotter than humans. He wrapped her wounds in soft cloth and gave her water. She drank it slowly. He watched her, with care, unsure what else to do. He had never seen anything like her, but she didn't look dangerous. She looked scared and hurt. "You'll be safe here," he said. "I won't let anyone find you." She blinked and looked around the small house. Her eyes paused on the pictures, on the wall, the tools on the table, and the fireplace. She looked back at David and finally whispered one word. "Why?" David sat down beside her. "Because you're hurt. That's enough reason." She said nothing more that night. She closed her eyes and rested. David stayed close, watching the fire and listening to her soft breathing. He knew something big had just started. He didn't know her name or where she came from, but he had made a choice. She needed help, and he would give it. In the morning, he checked her wounds again. The skin looked strange, like it was healing fast. Maybe her kind had stronger bodies. She opened her eyes as he changed the bandage. "You're human," she said quietly. "Yes," David replied. "And you're not." She gave a small nod. "I'm from Varel." "I've never heard of that," he said. "You wouldn't," she replied. He smiled. "What's your name?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "Alira." David nodded. "Nice to meet you, Alira. I'm David." She sat up slowly and looked out the window. Her eyes watched the trees, the sky, the light moving, through the leaves. She touched her burned arm and winced. "I thought humans were cruel," she said. "I thought you would leave me there." David shook his head. "I don't know what others would do. But I saw someone hurt, so I helped." Alira stared at him again, her golden eyes full of thought. "You may regret it." "Maybe," David said. "But not today." She leaned back against the couch and closed her eyes again. David stood up and walked to the kitchen. He made tea and placed a cup near her. She didn't drink it right away, but she smiled just a little. Outside, the forest was calm, but deep in the trees, the broken ship still glowed. The crash had made a mark, and something else had come with it. David did not know it yet, but this was only the beginning. He had saved her from the fire. He did not know that soon she would bring fire into his life, too. Alira stayed in David's home for the next few days. She didn't speak much at first. She spent most of her time resting on the couch or watching the trees through the window. Her eyes often moved to David when he was not looking. She seemed unsure of him, yet she didn't seem afraid anymore. David brought her water and soup every day. He made sure her bandages stayed clean. Her skin was healing quickly. Each morning the burns looked smaller. By the fourth day, only light marks were left. One morning, as David placed a bowl of warm food in front of her, Alira finally asked a question. "Why do you live alone?" David sat down across from her. "I like quiet things. I fix machines for a living. People don't come out this far. It's peaceful here." Alira looked at the tools on the wall, the small garden outside the window, and the open books on the shelf. "You chose this life?" David nodded. "Yes." "What about you? Did you choose your life?" Alira looked down. "No, I didn't." She stood slowly and walked toward the window. Her skin now looked healthy, and her body moved with more strength. She wore one of David's clean shirts and a blanket over her shoulders. The silver strands of her hair caught the sunlight. "I was sent on a mission," she said. "I carried something important. Too important. Others came for it. I escaped. My ship was hit and I fell through the sky. I thought I would die in your forest, but you didn't," David said softly. "You lived." She turned to face him. "Because of you." They were both quiet for a while. Birds sang outside. The leaves moved in the soft wind. Alira looked peaceful, but her eyes showed deep thought. "I don't understand your kind," she said. "Humans. I heard stories. You fight. You take. You burn other worlds." David looked surprised. "Some do. Not all. Every world has good and bad. I'm not perfect, but I don't hurt others if I can help it." Alira stepped closer. "Still, you helped me. Even when I looked like a stranger. Even when you didn't know if I was safe." "You were in pain," David said. "And alone. That was enough." She studied his face. "You think that makes you strong. Where I come from, that would make you weak." "Maybe," David replied. "But I don't believe that." That evening, Alira asked to go outside. David helped her walk through the garden. She touched the flowers, looked up at the sky, and closed her eyes. The fresh air seemed to calm her. She sat on a small bench while David worked near the fence. "Your world is green," she said. "Ours is blue, deep blue. The sky, the oceans, even the trees." "It sounds beautiful," David said. "It was," she replied. "Before the war started. Before they came for the crystals, David turned. Crystals? Alira looked at him. Yes, my world has a rare energy source. The crystals are alive. They grow deep inside the ground. We use them to power our ships, our cities, even our bodies. But others wanted them, and now they come to take, not share. Is that what you were carrying in your ship? Alira nodded. One small crystal, very strong. I was taking it to safety, but they followed me. Who are they? Hunters, she said. From many places. They don't care who gets hurt. They only want the power. David looked at the forest beyond the garden. Will they come here? They might, she said. If they track the ship, David stayed quiet. The sun was setting. The sky turned gold and orange. Alira stood beside him and looked at the sky. I don't want to run again, she said. I'm tired. Then don't, David said. Stay here, rest. We'll figure something out if they come. She looked at him again, this time with a softer gaze. Why do you care what happens to me? David didn't answer at first. He picked a small flower and gave it to her. Because sometimes we don't need a reason to care. We just do. She held the flower gently in her hand. Her fingers were warm, and a soft light shimmered across her skin. You're not like the others I've heard about, she said. You're different, David smiled. Maybe you're different too. That night, Alira asked to see the ship. David told her it might not be safe yet, but she said it was important. The next morning, they prepared to go back into the forest. David packed food and tools. Alira wrapped herself in a long coat to hide her strange features. Her body had healed, but she was still not as strong as before. David promised to stay close. As they stepped into the woods, David noticed something. The air felt warmer. The plants near Alira seemed to move slightly as if drawn to her. He didn't say anything, but he watched with quiet eyes. The forest was silent. Only the sound of leaves under their feet and birds in the distance filled the air. Alira led the way now, her steps sure, her eyes focused. She remembered the crash. She remembered where the ship had fallen. When they reached the crash site, the ship was still there, bent, broken, and glowing faintly. Alira touched the side and closed her eyes. She's still alive, she said. The ship. Yes, Alira answered. She listens to me. She's waiting. David looked at the strange silver shell. He didn't understand how it worked, but it felt alive in some way. Alira looked around. We must be careful. If the hunters find this place, they'll come fast. They're not kind. David placed his hand on her shoulder. Then we'll protect it. Together. She turned to him and gave a small nod. Together. Alira stood in front of the broken ship. The soft silver metal of its body still glowed with a faint blue light. The forest around them was quiet. Only the wind moved through the leaves. David watched as Alira placed her hand on the curved surface of the ship. Her fingers pressed gently, and a small door opened. She looked at him. Stay close. Don't touch anything unless I say. David nodded. He followed her inside. The air inside the ship felt warm and heavy, as if it held something, alive. The walls were smooth and silver. Strange lights pulsed gently along the edges. Small floating shapes moved slowly, like machines waiting for commands. Alira moved with care. She reached the center of the ship, where a large round pod sat against the wall. She placed her hand over it. A soft hum filled the room, and the pod opened. Inside, something glowed brightly. It was a crystal, about the size of an apple, floating inside a clear cube. It gave off a steady blue light. David stepped closer. "Is that the crystal you spoke about?" Alira nodded. "Yes. This is the heart of my mission. This crystal holds more energy than a city. It can power a ship for years, but it can also be used for harm if in the wrong hands." David looked at it with wide eyes. "It's beautiful. It's alive," Alira said. "It feels things. It responds to thought. On my world, we grow them. We care for them like we care for family." David asked, "Why were you taking it?" "Because the last safe place is gone," she said. "I was ordered to move it to a secret world. But the hunters found me. They damaged the ship. I crashed here." She looked at David. "I didn't think I would survive, but then you found me, and now the crystal is changing." David looked at the crystal again. Its glow was pulsing slowly, almost like a heartbeat. As he stepped closer, it grew brighter. Alira's eyes narrowed. "That shouldn't happen. What do you mean?" "It's responding to you," David blinked. "To me? I'm not from your world." "That's why it's strange," she said. "The crystal is linked to my kind. Only those born on Varel can touch it without harm. Others usually feel burning pain if they get close." David reached out slowly. Alira was about to stop him, but before she could speak, his hand touched the cube. The light grew stronger. It wrapped gently around his fingers like soft mist. David didn't feel pain. He felt warmth, calm, and a strange kind of peace. Alira stared at him. "You touched it, and you're still standing." David pulled his hand back. "It felt warm, not painful." "That's not possible," she whispered. "You're human. This should not happen." David stepped away. "Maybe the crystal knows I helped you. Maybe it trusts me like you did." Alira stayed quiet. Her eyes stayed fixed on the crystal. "This changes everything. If the hunters find out the crystal responded to a human, they'll come faster. They'll want you too. You're now part of it." David didn't speak. He looked at the crystal again. Its soft light slowly dimmed as if it were resting. "Is there a way to hide it?" he asked. "Yes," Alira said. "But we need parts. My ship's systems are weak. I need help fixing them." David nodded. "Tell me what you need. I'll find it." Alira looked at him. "You've already done more than anyone. Why do you keep helping?" "Because I started this by helping you. I won't stop now. And maybe because I feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself now." Alira gave a small nod. "You're right. This is bigger than both of us." She closed the pod. The lights dimmed. She turned to David. "Let's go. We need to prepare." They left the ship and walked back through the forest. On the way, Alira kept looking at the trees. She stopped once and placed her hand on the bark of a tree. A small spark of light moved through the wood. "The planet listens," she said softly. "Your world is awake. It's not like mine, but it's full of energy. That's why the crystal is calm here. It feels safe." Back at the house, David opened his old storage shed. Inside were boxes filled with wires, tools, and machine parts. He had collected them over the years, fixing broken radios, motors, and small engines. "Take what you need," he said. Alira walked around the shed. She picked up small parts, checked circuits, and made a list. David helped her carry the pieces back to the house. They cleared a corner of the room and set up a small work table. For hours, they worked together. Alira showed David how her tools worked. He helped her fit the pieces. The bond between them grew stronger. They didn't say much, but their hands moved with care and trust. Later that night, as they sat near the fireplace, Alira spoke again. "The crystal chose you. That means your path is no longer separate from mine. Our stories are linked now." David looked at her. "Then let's write the next part together." Alira smiled for the first time. It was a soft smile, but it felt real. "You don't fear the fire. Most would." "Maybe," David said, "but I've seen a different fire, one that saves, not destroys." Outside, the stars began to shine. Far above, hidden beyond the clouds, something moved silently in the dark sky. Alira didn't see it yet, but the hunters were not far behind. The forest was calm, but danger was coming, and soon both David and Alira would have to stand against it. The sky was dark and quiet. The stars were clear above the forest. David sat near the fireplace, looking at the soft flame. Alira sat across from him, her eyes half closed. They had spent the whole day working on the parts she took from his shed. The ship needed many small repairs, but they had made good progress. Alira looked tired but calm. Her skin glowed faintly in the dim light. David noticed how peaceful she seemed now, compared to the first night he found her. But deep inside, she still looked like she was waiting for something. "Will they come soon?" David asked. Alira opened her eyes. "If they found the crash, they will come. Maybe tonight. Maybe tomorrow." David stood and looked out the window. The forest looked still, like it was holding its breath. "What do they want most?" he asked. "The crystal? Or you?" "Both," Alira said. "They want power, and I'm the only one who can control the crystal. If I live, they fear it can be used against them. If I die, they take it for themselves." David turned back. "Then we protect it." "And you," Alira stood and walked toward him. "You say that so easily, but if they come, it won't be easy." "I'm not afraid," David said. "Not when I know what's right." Alira looked into his eyes. "Then let's prepare." They checked the doors and windows. David brought out some old tools, wires, and lights. Alira used some of her knowledge to help him set up small alarms near the edge of the property. She showed him how to link a wire to a stone that glowed softly. She called it a sound stone. If touched, it would ring with a sharp tone only they could hear. By the time they finished, the moon was high. Suddenly, the sound stone near the north fence gave off a small ring. David turned fast. Something touched it. Alira stepped to the... No, they're here. Outside, the forest edge glowed with a soft blue light. Two tall shapes stepped into view. They were not like Alira. Their bodies were dark and covered in strange armor. Their heads were long, with masks that looked like metal faces. One of them held a round device that flashed with green lights. "They are hunters," Alira said. "From the broken moons. I've seen them before, cold minds, no feeling. They only follow orders," David asked. "Do they speak your language?" "Yes," she said. "But they only speak to give commands or threats. They never listen." David checked his small toolkit. He had no weapons, but he had something better. He knew how to build traps. He looked at the doorway and placed a small spark wire across the step. If anyone touched it, it would release a strong flash. Alira touched his shoulder. "Let me talk first. Maybe they'll leave." David nodded. "I'll stay close." Alira stepped out onto the porch. The hunters saw her and stopped a few feet away. One of them raised a hand. A red light shone from its fingers. "Give the crystal," it said. Its voice was flat and cold. "You will not be harmed," Alira answered. "I know what harm looks like. I've seen what you do. I won't give it to you." "You are outnumbered," the hunter said. "We will take it. Do not resist." David stepped outside beside Alira. "She's not alone, and she's not giving it to anyone." The hunters looked at him. "A human. That explains the delay." "You helped her," Alira spoke firmly. "He saved my life, and he touched the crystal. It accepted him. That made the hunters pause. They looked at each other. One of them took a step forward. "The crystal must be retrieved," it said. "You will not survive if you stand in our way." Alira raised her hand. A soft light glowed between her fingers. "Then come and try." The hunter moved fast. But as it stepped on the porch, it hit David's spark wire. A flash of white light exploded. The hunter was pushed back by the force. Sparks flew from its armor. The second hunter fired a small device, but Alira raised her arm and a wall of blue light appeared in front of them. The shot hit the shield and vanished. David ran inside and grabbed the tools they had used earlier. He connected a long wire to a power stone and placed it across the front steps. Alira stood at the doorway, holding her glowing hands up. Her body was surrounded by soft fire now, not like flames, but like living energy. The first hunter stood again, damaged but not destroyed. It pointed its device at Alira, but David shouted, "Now!" Alira moved her hands in a quick circle. A wave of blue heat pushed forward and hit the hunter. It flew back and hit a tree. The second hunter tried to jump away, but the power wire David had placed gave a shock through its legs. It fell and twitched, unable to move. Alira stepped forward. "Leave this place. Or the next time, I won't hold back." The first hunter stood slowly. It looked at the second, then at David. "This is not the end. We will return, stronger." "Then we'll be ready," David said. The hunters turned and walked into the forest. Within seconds, they vanished into the trees. Alira turned to David. Her breathing was heavy, but her eyes were bright. "You weren't afraid?" David gave a tired smile. "I was, but I didn't let it stop me." Alira touched his hand. "You saved me again. We saved each other," David said. They walked back inside and sat near the fire. Alira looked at him quietly. "The crystal chose you," she said. "Now I understand why. You don't need fire to be strong. You already carry it inside." David looked at the glowing stone she wore on her wrist. "Then let's keep it safe." Together, Alira gave a small nod. Together, but deep in the forest, far beyond where the trees ended, a message was sent. More would come, and they would not wait long. The sun rose slowly over the trees. The light came through the window, falling across Alira's face. She stood near the garden, watching the leaves move in the wind. Her silver hair caught the morning light, and her skin glowed faintly with soft warmth. The battle from the night before had passed, but something inside her had changed. David stepped out of the house with 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her. "You didn't sleep," he said. "No," she answered. The energy inside me is growing. Since I used the crystal's power to fight, it hasn't stopped. I feel heat in my veins. Is it dangerous? Not yet, Alira said. But it's strange. I've used the crystal before, but this feels different. It's like my bond with you made the power stronger. David looked surprised. My bond, Alira, nodded. The moment you touched the crystal and it accepted you, something happened. On my world, a bond like this is rare. It links two beings through energy and purpose. I never thought it could happen with a human. David looked at his hand, remembering the soft blue glow that had wrapped around his skin. I don't feel anything strange, he said. You will, Alira said softly. It begins in me, but it will reach you too. They walked together through the garden. The flowers leaned slightly toward Alira as she passed. The grass under her feet seemed to shimmer in the light. David noticed these things but didn't speak about them. Back inside, they returned to work. The ship still needed repair. David brought more tools from the shed. Alira guided him through each step, explaining how the ship's systems worked. Her voice was steady, but her hands sometimes shook. Are you all right? David asked. She paused. The heat is rising. I can feel it in my chest, in my arms. It's not pain, but it's pressure. I think the crystal is waking something inside me. David placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Rest for a while. I'll keep working. She smiled faintly. You never stop helping. He looked at her. I made a promise. I'll keep it. As Alira rested near the window, David worked. Inside the ship, he connected wires, cleaned circuits, and reset power cores. Though he didn't understand everything, he followed her notes and signs. After some time, Alira stood again. Her eyes were brighter now. A soft, flame-like light moved along her arms, fading in and out. She walked toward David. Something inside. Me has changed, she said. Before, I needed the crystal to use energy. Now the power is flowing without it. It's coming from the bond. Is that a good thing? He asked. I don't know yet, she said. But I don't feel fear. I feel strong. And I feel you near me, even when you're not touching me. David stepped closer. What do we do? Now, Alira looked toward the forest. The hunters will return, not just two this time. They will send more. They may bring a collector. What's that? It's a machine. Half living, half metal. It takes energy from others and stores it. If it gets close to the crystal, it will drain it. And it could hurt both of us. David's face grew serious. Then we need to stop it before it gets here. Alira nodded. I can fight. The power inside me is ready. But if it grows too strong, it may burn me too. That's why I must control it. David looked at her with calm eyes. You're not alone in this. Whatever comes, we face it together. They went back to the house and made more plans. Alira showed David how to create energy traps using the glowing stones she carried. They placed the traps around the house and near the ship. Each one would release a shock wave if something crossed it. As the sky turned orange again, Alira stood in the middle of the garden. Her arms rose slowly. A circle of light formed around her. David watched in silence. The light grew brighter, until it wrapped around her like a glowing robe. Then it faded, and she opened her eyes. I can control it, she said. At least for now. David walked to her. What does it feel like? Like fire inside my heart, she said. But it listens to me now, and it listens to you too. He looked confused. To me? Yes. Alira said. Your presence keeps the fire calm. When I thought I might lose control, I remembered your voice, your hands, your promise. David placed his hand over hers. Her skin was warm, but not painful. The air between them was quiet. You healed my burn, she said. Now I burn for you? David didn't know what to say, but he saw the truth in her eyes. Something deep had formed between them. Not just a bond of energy, but something greater, something neither of them could explain fully. That night, they watched the sky together. Stars moved slowly above. Alira rested her head on David's shoulder. The air was peaceful, but they both knew it would not last. Far away, in a hidden place above the clouds, a ship moved silently. Inside, a tall figure watched a glowing screen. It showed a picture of Alira and David standing near the garden. The hunter's voice spoke through the dark room. They are linked. The fire has chosen them. The collector must be sent. The figure gave a single command. The ship turned toward Earth. The forest was quiet and still under the deep night sky. David and Alira sat near the small fire outside the house. The moon shone brightly, and the stars looked like tiny lights scattered across the dark sky. Both were tired from the long day, of repairs and planning, but their minds were sharp and alert. Alira's body still glowed softly with the strange energy inside her. The bond between her and David was stronger now. They had worked hard to protect the crystal and prepare for the hunter's return. They knew the danger was coming closer. Suddenly, a soft noise came from the forest edge. David stood and looked toward the trees. Alira stood too, her eyes glowing brighter. Here they come, she said quietly. From the dark woods, 3 tall figures stepped out. They wore dark armor with strange, glowing symbols. Their faces were hidden by smooth helmets. One of them carried a large device that looked like a weapon. The others held sharp tools that hummed with energy. David moved beside Alira. They brought more this time. Alira nodded. They want the crystal and me. We must fight to protect it. The hunters did not speak. They moved slowly forward, their eyes searching. Alira raised her hands, and blue flames surrounded her arms. The light flickered like a living fire. David picked up a long metal rod from the ground. It was part of the ship's broken frame. He held it tight. The first hunter stopped a few steps away. It raised its weapon and fired a beam of green light. Alira quickly lifted a shield of fire. The beam hit the shield and broke into sparks. David charged forward. He swung the metal rod at the second hunter. The hunter blocked with a sharp blade. Sparks flew. David stepped back, then charged again. The fight was fast and loud. Alira focused her power. Flames danced from her hands and moved like waves. She struck the third hunter with a blast of heat. The hunter stumbled but quickly recovered. The hunters were strong, but Alira's fire was stronger. David used his quick mind to find weak points. He threw rocks, set small traps, and helped Alira avoid attacks. Suddenly, the largest hunter moved behind them. It carried a strange machine, a collector. It glowed with red and black lights. The machine sent out waves that tried to pull the Yi. Crystal's energy, Alira cried out. The collector! David ran toward the machine. He tried to grab its wires and break them, but the collector's force was strong. The ground shook, and the red light grew brighter. Alira raised her arms higher. The fire around her grew hotter. She stepped between the collector and David. The heat pushed the machine back. It hissed and pulsed, but it could not get closer. The hunters shouted and attacked again. The fight became louder and faster. David felt the heat near him. The fire was no longer just around Alira. It touched his skin, warming but not burning. He realized the bond was stronger now. The power inside Alira was reaching him too. David yelled, "Hold on! I'm coming!" He picked up a heavy branch and swung it at the collector's control panel. The machine sparked and groaned. One of its wires broke. Alira took the chance. She reached out with both hands and sent a wave of fire that wrapped around the collector. The machine began to melt and crack. It let out a strange sound before falling silent. The hunters looked shocked. Without the collector, they lost much of their power. Alira moved forward. Her flames burned brighter. She told the hunters, "Leave now or face the fire again." The hunters hesitated. Then they turned and disappeared into the forest. David and Alira stood alone. The fire around Alira slowly faded. She looked at David and smiled. "You fought well," she said. David smiled back. "I fought because you trusted me." Alira stepped closer. "The bond is real. We are stronger together." David took her hand. It was warm like the fire, but gentle. "We will protect the crystal and each other," he said. Alira nodded. "The hunters will come again, but we are ready." They walked back to the house, tired but full of hope. Outside, the stars shone brightly. The night was calm, but the battle was not over. Together, David and Alira would face whatever came next. The morning sun shone warmly on the small house near the forest. David and Alira sat quietly in the garden. The air smelled fresh with flowers and earth. The battle with the hunters had passed, but the future was still uncertain. Alira's body no longer glowed as before. The fire inside her was calm, but it was still there. She looked peaceful, but thoughtful. David watched her closely. He knew she carried many worries. "Your ship is ready," David said softly. "You can leave Earth now." Alira looked at the small silver craft hidden among the trees. The ship was fixed. The engines hummed quietly. It was waiting for her. "Yes," she said. "But I do not know if I want to leave." David smiled gently. "You have a choice now. You can go back to your world or stay here with me." Alira's golden eyes met his. "I never expected to find someone like you. Someone who saved me without fear. Someone who changed me." David took her hand. "And I never expected to meet an alien who would become part of my life." They sat together, holding hands. The silence was full of unspoken words and feelings. The bond between them was more than just the crystal or the fire. It was trust, friendship, and something deeper. Alira stood and walked to the edge of the garden. She looked up at the sky. "My world is far away," she said. "It is full of war and pain. The crystal was the last hope. But now, I have hope." "Here too," David followed her. "What will you do if you stay?" "I will help protect this world," Alira said. "With you. I will learn from you and teach you. Together we can make a difference." David smiled. "That sounds good." They went back inside the house. Alira packed a small bag. She kept the crystal safe in a special box. The bond between her and David had changed everything. She no longer felt alone or afraid. David helped her with the last. preparations. They walked to the ship together. The forest was quiet and calm. The morning light made the silver metal shine. Alira turned to David. "Will you come with me?" David hesitated. "This is my home. I don't know if I can leave everything behind." Alira smiled softly. "You don't have to leave. You can visit or stay. But I want you to choose." David looked at the ship, then at Alira. His heart beat fast. "I want to be with you," he said. "No matter where we are," Alira's eyes shone. "Then come, let us face the stars together." David nodded. He stepped into the ship. Alira followed. The engine started with a soft hum. The ship lifted slowly above the trees. The forest grew smaller below. The sky opened wide. David held Alira's hand. "I never thought I would leave Earth, but with you, the stars feel like home." Alira smiled. "We will find new worlds, new friends, new stories." The ship moved faster and faster. The stars shone bright ahead. Together, they were ready for whatever came next.